Hello. Oh, I have my new WFMU shirt from this year's pledge. I'm going to talk about a book about Hollywood. This is called Tender Comrades by Patrick McGilligan and Paul Buhle. Buhel. Oh, Buhl. Anyway, they just are doing interviews in the book. Not just doing interviews, they do interviews in this book. I really loved this book. Clearly, it's not for everyone. I don't know how many people that I picked up who share my kind of interests on this channel along the way. I read the book because it was recommended by Jules Pfeiffer. I don't know if you follow any of my videos. Oh, I don't know, last month, whatever it was, I read a couple of comics by Jules Pfeiffer. He did it at the end of his life about Hollywood screenwriters and so forth. Well, he recommended this book and another one called Hollywood Writers, and I got Hollywood Writers Wars, I think it was called. Anyway, I got both of them, and I didn't have time to read the other one because they were both overdue. This is overdue at the New York Public Library. So I'm going to talk about this book. I don't know if you can even get it anywhere these days, nowadays, but, whatever. So I press forward anyway. It came out in 1997, so, you're never going to find it anywhere. At any rate, it's really, I thought it was the most, I learned more about old Hollywood, from the 30s and the 40s into the 50s, from this book than any book I've ever read about Hollywood. And, even I remember back in high school, I read King Cohen, the book about biography of Harry Cohen, who was, the dictator of Columbia Pictures for many years. And I remember zero about it. Of course, he comes up in this quite a bit. But the thing about this book, it's, I think, like 36 interviews with people who were blacklisted during the House Un-American Activities Committee, often referred to as McCarthyism, although none of them had anything to do with McCarthy. There was the House Un-American Activities Committee that started way before McCarthyism, way before McCarthy started his Senate hearings. It was the House of Representatives Un-American Activities Committee. I think it was started by Martin Dies, in 1946, 47, so way back, whereas the McCarthy thing, that was happening, 50, 51, around there, okay? So, and the House Un-American Activities Committee was the one that went to Hollywood, went to there and there, and had all these, hunting of communists hearings going on, and the ones that subpoenaed all the Hollywood writers, and they're the ones that charged the Hollywood 10 with contempt and sent these people to jail, like writers to jail for a year. And the thing is about the whole thing is it's like the writers, Hollywood writers or actors or anyone else, did not really have much say in the content of the movies. That was all, they were all working in this, industry, this studio system that employed like thousands of people, and they had no say about what was going to be in the movies. So as far as them like putting subversive content in the movies, no, they were gonna. You're gonna look at all these movies from the 20s and 30s, and the thing is, some of them in the 30s, like the Warner Brothers movies, particularly, had more content that actually the pre-code movies are the best because the pre-code movies are like very realistic. They're about like what people are really kind of more like. And then the code came in like in 1933, and then all that kind of shut down. They have to be nicey nice, like two people can't be, even if they're married, can't be seen in the same bed, and all that kind of stuff. And so all these sort of restrictions that the producers went along with because, and the production heads went along with because they wanted to be nice with the government and all that and sell their damn movies, and make money. I mean, it's all about making money. And so, this is as if this money-making industry is somehow distributing communist propaganda is, absurd. So, but the thing is, why I really loved this book was just, it's 750 pages, so it took me a while to get through this, and 36 interviews, men and women, writers, a few actors, Lionel Stander particularly stand out, but, mostly writers, and the thing is, they're just so really great people and really smart, and they're all being interviewed like in the 80s and early 90s, so they're quite old by that time. They're in their 80s, and some of them are approaching 90, I think. So they're really old, and they're looking back at it all, and not any of them were really like ashamed of what they did or ashamed of how they were or anything like that, because there's no reason to be. They were not doing anything to mess up the country. They were in the Communist Party. And the Communist Party in the 30s and 40s was, it was, the Popular Front days. So, they talk about how during the war, when they wanted to do things about the Communist Party, the discipline of the Communist Party had them do other things other than just movies and so forth. That they were supposed to do other stuff in the committee, like racial things, help this and that. So they, other functions they were supposed to do. They when the war came about, the whole concentration was on anti-fascism and defeating Hitler and supporting our troops and all that, complete regular Americanism, fighting the war as everybody else was, So, they weren't doing anything, subversive, really, and they weren't, like about to overturn the country or anything like that. The whole thing is absurd. So there was, maybe about 300 people all told who were going to like these meetings and so forth, and they went to classes and got studied Marxism and so forth. A lot of them were like sort of complaining about that, how boring the classes were, but they learned things about the economy and all that. So it was there was no danger from these people, and never was really. And the thing is, they were just, I mean, reading this, it made me. I felt great to just hang out with these smart people committed to like justice and equality and stuff like that, and like economic justice, sort of things that would seem kind of basic to me and good, so they talk about what happened when they got blacklisted by the studios, and how a lot of them had to go to Europe. Some went to Mexico. A lot of people writing with fronts. So they would write a script. They still, the producers and all that still wanted these people because they were the good writers, like Dalton Trumbo. Dalton Trumbo was like a workhorse, like a wrote, and was a very popular and in demand Hollywood screenwriter. So they would go to other countries and they would have fronts. One thing is there's this Adventures of Robin Hood series that was produced in England during the 50s, and a lot of them got work in that series, like Ring Lardner Jr., who was the son of Ring Lardner, who was a famous writer in the early part of 20th century. So and they talk about how the movies were back then, and the movies back then were the things that was good about that, even though there's like these heads of studios that were decide what to do. Well, now it's just like business people, Wall Street people that decide what to do. And it's all about the bottom line. It's not anybody's particular vision on the line. And they talk about certain, and I have foreknowledge about all these people because over the years I've read enough about Hollywood and so forth, and I'm old, so I was kind of more close to that time to begin with, and that I was born in 1951, and a lot of the movies that these people were making, were showing up on television back then, and I still like to watch them because they're pretty good movies. They're like dramas with people talking and so forth. So I guess there's not really much point of me going on and on about this, particularly this book or anything else. It's like, okay, this is stuff I'm interested in, and it's over. Looking at what's going on in the country today with, Donald Trump being elected again, and all the shit that he's doing, and the clowns that he's bringing into his administration and so forth, and how he wants to make America great again. But the America that he wants to make great again, 1890, he said that recently, and that's that's before income tax, before any like labor laws. In 1890 would work like 12 hours a day or whatever every day, and in shitty conditions and so on and so forth. No government protections about anything, and this sort of this Ronald Reaganism where I see somebody from the government and I tell him that the worst thing you can hear is "I'm from the government," that kind of crap. So, and Ronald Reagan fits in with this book. A lot of people knew him, younger, as kind of liberal guy, and then he was actually the president of the Screen Actors Guild during this blacklisting stuff, and was actually kind of a rat, and told about rats. Okay, how did a lot of these people feel about the people who did name names? What would happen is you would be called for the committee, and you would say, have you are you now, or have you ever been a communist? No, or I'm not going to talk a Fifth Amendment. And then if you did confess, that, yeah, I was in Communist Party. Then you were required to name names of other people who were in the party. So a lot of these people, some of them had like 150 people they named and things like that. So they questioned these people about the people who were named and blacklisted about what they thought about these people. Particularly, there's like one guy was childhood friends with Bud Schulberg, and Bud Schulberg was in the Communist Party, so forth. And Bud Schulberg was ultimately somebody who named names. Bud Schulberg was the writer of a couple of quite famous Elia Kazan movies, who also name names. Those movies of the 50s, On the Waterfront, which was kind of a movie that I guess how they tried to justify what went on, and a really good movie with Andy Griffith. Called Face in the Crowd. So, but this, people would not talk to each other for some years. People would avoid other people. Some people, like, all right, I understand. You had children, you had this and that, you had these big careers to protect, and still you were a rat, and it's not good to be a rat, and you saved your own ass while destroying these other people, and that's not good. What went on is, as time went by, a lot of people used fronts. This is a movie by Martin Ritt, who's also interviewed in here, called The Front, made in, I think, the 90s, the 80s or 90s, yeah, with Woody Allen as a playing somebody who was a front for blacklisted screenwriters, which I saw like when it was made way back then. I haven't rewatched it. So by the 1960s, early 60s, things were starting to break up, and a lot of these people were allowed to come back out and write for movies again, and wrote some movies that were really good. Like Midnight Cowboy was written by Waldo Salt, who was blacklisted, and Tell 'em Willie Boy was here, which was also by a blacklisted screenwriter, and by this time they could put their names on the screenplays. And Dalton Trumbo was one of the first permitted to break the blacklist. So anyway, I have no reason why to go on about this, because nobody watches my channel. By the way, if there's commercials with this, I'm not getting anything about that. I don't think it's possible for my channel to become monetized. To get monetized, you have to have 500 subscribers. I have over 500 subscribers, but you're also supposed to have like 3,000 hours watched. I'm not charming enough to watch for 3,000 hours, so I think I have 1,060 some hours watched right now, and I think within the year or something you're supposed to have 3,000 hours watched. So I don't really want to be monetized, because then it's always like, oh, they're going to demonetize me if I say something wrong, blah, 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 blah. And, I just don't want to play that game. And I'm just doing this for fun and something to do, and, whatever. And the few people who are interested in crap like this can find out what I'm interested in, and maybe read some of the books or something. I know some people who do watch my channel have said they're interested in reading the books and so forth. Some other things about this is that this Hollywood takes up too much attention. Like, even now, the movies are flashy. All right, They blink. And they take too much attention of our culture. During the Red Scare, it wasn't just Hollywood people that were kicked out of their jobs and so forth. There were teachers and other kinds of workers who were also forced out because of being accused of communism, whatever. And that this kind of disappeared. The focus seems to. I haven't read Victor Nabasky's book, Naming Names. Maybe he goes into more of that kind of stuff in his book, because I'm curious about it. Maybe I'll find out about it, or maybe someone here will tell me about it. That is, if I read the comments. Sometimes comments could get, with things like this, can get a little annoying because, well, you see the side that won, the anti-socialist, anti-communist, anti-liberal side is that has won, gets all jacked out of shape if you talk about stuff like this. I picked up this book, or somehow heard about this book, Unhumans, The Secret History of Communist Revolutions and How to Crush Them. So this has blurbs on the back by some noted people, J.D. Vance, Tucker Carlson, Donald Trump Jr., Lieutenant General, USA retired Michael T. Flynn, and it is forward by Stephen K. Bannon. So you can see all the scare stuff on this, and so it's another Unhumans, like, some people don't deserve human treatment, which is what we're seeing right now. And a functionary of our government thinks it's okay to send people without trial, without any hearings, without charges against them, into a prison in a country they have never been to, and pack them in like sardines, smashing body against body. And they think that's all right because, well, they're not humans like us, Fuck humans. I'm getting sick of humans, frankly. So, yeah, I wanted to say that about the other parts of it, and Hollywood, it's how it's just too damn much. I mean, it's a I kind of wish that moving image, maybe even electronic media like radio, had kind of never existed, and that vaudeville could still exist, and people like me maybe could have gotten a job in a vaudeville act and traveled around the country doing my 15 minutes for a lot of people for the next 20 years or whatever. But, the whole centralization of the thing is not good, I don't think. The whole money concentration, the whole fact that you really can't make a movie and get it distributed, and so people will see it without, like millions of dollars involved. And now, up into the tens and hundreds of millions of dollars. And, that is a very centralized kind of business, and a kind of business that when only people with money have a say in what's going on in the culture. Only people with a lot of money, willing to invest in this stuff, get to participate in entertainment. And I don't think that's particularly good. So these people that in the Tender Comrades book. I mean, I think they're all very good people, but they did go for the big money. They did go out to Hollywood to get $1,000 a week or so, in the 30s and 40s, which was a hell of a lot of money. I mean, it would be a hell of a lot of money even for me to get at this point. So, they kind of went for something that was not real to begin with, or shouldn't have existed to begin with, and in a way it's like, well, serve you right for thinking that this was going to somehow be wholesome or good or anything like that. So I think that's where I'll just leave it now. So yeah, Tender Comrades is really, really good book that I just really loved, and just spending time with these people, and actually, I watched one of the screenwriters who was blacklisted wrote, talking about the harmless things these people were writing. He wrote Abbott and Costello movies. You wrote like Abbott and Costello meets Frankenstein, Buck Privates by Abbott and Costello, stuff like that. And just a couple nights ago, I watched Crazy House by Olson and Johnson, which was another movie he wrote. And, it was just madcap, crazy stuff, surreal, so forth. And, it just wasn't very subversive. So, I think one of the reasons why the producers and so forth went for this was a lot of these people were also involved in the union movement, like the Screen Actors Guild, building the Screen Actors Guild, and the Screenwriters Guild, and things like that. So the producers, the heads of the studios, didn't like that kind of stuff. One of the writers, or a couple of people, worked for Disney, and they both of them kind of really liked Disney, actually, and and he knew that they were like commies, and he wanted them anyway, and had them writing. So it's all real gray area here, and what all this was all about. But it's all going to come roaring back again, because that time and these people were a fluke in the country, as I see it. I mean, when Donald Trump is talking about making America great again as the 1890s, well, the whole thing about the trade union movement, the big industrial unions that built up into the time of the Depression hit, and then were in a position to exert some force on the government and scared the government enough to put in the New Deal and things like that. Which I'm enjoying the benefits of the New Deal now here, almost 100 years later, as many of us are. I mean, that's, as far as I'm concerned, that stuff, the stuff that happened in the New Deal, is what really made America great. But it was a fluke as far as the entire history of the place. The history of the place of America is just rotten and horrible. I mean, it's a settler colonialist place, like a similar settler colonialist thing going on right now, where people from outside are moving in and we want this territory, and basically kill the Indians, round them up, put them in virtual concentration camps of reservations, whatever. And that's really what America was. Up until that time of the Great Depression and the New Deal and all that stuff, and all since then. The right wing has been fighting and fighting and fighting, over and over to eliminate eliminate these things, and one of these waves of elimination was this House Un-American Activities Committee. They were trying to set things back again into this laissez-faire kind of America with no rules except what the capitalists and the bosses want. So anyway, enough of my spiel. Uh, Whatever. I'll be reading more books and blabbing about it. Oh, there was one book they recommended in here, and it's waiting at the library for me. And actually Whitney Webb has been talking about this about Lou Wasserman and MCA. Lou Wasserman was the head of MCA, which is a big talent agency. And I guess they were part of a studio or something. And there's a book about MCA, the mob, and Reagan. And that book, after reading this one, was mentioned in that, and it is waiting for me around the corner at the library. So I'll probably be talking about that book pretty soon, and whoever's interested in that kind of stuff can wait for that. Otherwise, we'll see you around, comrades.